Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversation while exploring the quantum possibilities. And we're going to do it again tonight. I am so excited for our guest. She's so special, so amazing, but I'll be stepping on Augie's feet if I say anything else. So I just want to open, as usual, with gratitude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the chat room. It's always lively and fun in there. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your super chats. Augie's like a little kid in feety pajamas when we get a super chat. He's like, "Ee!" Like jumping on the bed. So, and also, I want to invite you, if you don't know, we have a mastermind connection that happens every Monday, and we join energy and frequency and vision in this meeting, and then we put it out to the quantum realm. We put it out to the creative universe, and we just sit back and observe what happens. We do it for benevolent reasons, a lot about healing, a lot about peace during the elections when that was happening, bad weather patterns, things that are happening in the world that needs a loving intervention. So if this sounds like something you'd like to join us and do, just send an email to the mastermind connection, all one word, at gmail.com, and Augie will send you the link. You can come hang out with us. Everybody there are so much fun, so loving. We drink a bunch of coffee and carry on and just do good things in life. So Augie, can you please tell us about our amazing guest?
Yes, I will. I do want to add something else to that, and that is that, in fact, we are doing a mastermind on Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, 3 days during the week, where we do some incredible things. In fact, last Sunday, we did something really incredible. There was a healing that happened that was not supposed to happen, but we bent the laws of physics and we did it anyway. So come and check out, because this is, you're going to like it. Anyway, I want to talk about our guest a little bit. We have a very special guest for you. This will actually be more like a teaching session from me, so I'm going to take notes. And I really suggest that you do too. Just run and get yourself a piece of paper and a pen, because there's going to be some sources, resources, and information that you sometime in the future, you're going to look back and you say, gee, I wish I wrote that down. Mm-hmm. It happens to me all the time. So, we have Dr. Charnell Wolverton with us. She is a naturopathic doctor, Swiftfire, I guess it's called, Swiftfire international author, and a speaker at conferences everywhere. And she specializes in helping everybody to find truth and the path of true wholeness of mind. Now, Dr. Charnell has also done a lot of traveling. She's speaking in over 44 countries. She has written 5 books, including one of them is The Science of Miracles. And yes, folks, there is a science behind miracles. That is not just accident, because it is created by you and whoever you connect with. So that's a book that you should consider. And she also is producing her crystal oils and decree deck. She also does online classes, and she is on Swiftfire, True TV, and social media. You will find her there. And of course, she's going to talk about her website here in just a little bit. So welcome to the show, Charnell.
Welcome. Hi, guys. Hi, thank you. Thank you for being here with your entourage, your beautiful cats. They're so cute. They love to come on the show. They love it. So it's good.
Very high vibe. Yes, they're super high vibe. Thank you for letting me be with you guys. I met you at another conference, and it was just instant for me, and just hands down was so excited to meet you guys. And I'm going to have you on my show too. So I'm excited about that too. So we can kind of just cross over.
When is that?
I think the 30th of December. I have to double look, or it might be the 27th. I'll double look and I'll get you that.
Okay.
So I was thinking a lot about naturopathic doctors, being a nurse who is very saddened by the state of our medical machine. That's what it's turned into, and how important naturopathic doctors are, and how important it is for us to always surround them with good vibrations. How did this start for you, Dr. Charnell? How did you become a naturopathic doctor?
Well, that is kind of a long story. I mean, it's like, how did you get to where you are or you are? Everyone has these processes on the journey of, getting to these points. But my I have done a zillion jobs, but I've had an encounter pretty early on with some supernatural things that happen. And I was actually part of the Montauk Project as a kid. My dad was military, so we traveled quite a bit. And whether I was picked for that or born for that, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, all of that kind of stuff, I don't really know. But I just know that brought a lot of contact and direction, and some things really good and some things not so good. But in the end, I'm choosing to use everything for the positive. And I had an encounter with who I would call Jesus at 4 in the middle of that. And that kind of opened up a lot of things. I did not grow up in church. My parents don't go to church, didn't go to church. I don't have that kind of situation. Although when I moved to the South, I lived in Louisiana for several years, and that as a teen was a place where a lot of people were in kind of a church religious type situation. And I've studied all that. I've studied all of the different ways, and I consider myself an eternal student. And when that encounter happened at an early age, I just knew without any doubt that I was going to be in some sort of service for this world. And it looked like it was either going to be animals or ministry of some kind, whether it was people ministry, animal ministry, all the same, some sort of service to those specifically dogs and cats and or people. And so I did go the route of trying to be a veterinarian for like a week. And because I absolutely adore animals, I grew up on a cattle ranch and we had all kinds of wild animals, and kittens were my only friends living in the middle of nowhere, Montana. So I would tame kittens, and I was just really good. And that's another part of what happened in the Montauk thing, is being able to have this ability to connect with people and what they're thinking, and or that frequency of the animals and their language, their speech, their body language, just being really attuned to what things are saying, whether it's here or there or anywhere. And so again, everything builds for what you're doing. And I did end up going to seminary, Bible school, seminary, did the whole thing, and served in conferences, teaching in churches and in retreats and different things for about 17 years. And but then in the middle of that was having all these bleed through memories of stuff that happened, and some of it had been there the whole time, but it didn't make sense in what this world looks like. And so it was kind of like glitter, just tossed up in space of just trying to figure out, how does this make sense to anything? But as more dots kind of came together and people came together, and healing and different things came, it wasn't really until in this last like 10-15 years where I was actually really coming to the realization that there's way more going on than this reality expresses in so many different ways. And really started going down the rabbit trail of quantum physics. And I've always really interested in the human body, the psyche, neuroscience, quantum physics, the supernatural. And that's what I was teaching in the churches, believe it or not, so I was doing this way before I was doing it. But then it turned to I got really sick, and I started looking for answers on a physical way, in a Western way. And that's how I grew up. So that's just kind of what I knew. And I did that for 6 years and found zero answers, and really only ended up on more meds and more side effects. And so I kind of went a whole different direction. I say coincidence, there's no such thing, and met some people who use frequency and machines and technology for health, as well as frequency with things like essential oils or just minerals, nutrients, vitamins, staying hydrated. And during that process, I had someone check on the traumas that I had, because traumas will store in the body if we don't process them between that 3 and 5 a.m. period. And what happens is the limbic system basically says, you know what, she's not handling this, so I'm going to put it up somewhere else and just store it there until she's ready. And then it can sit dormant, or it can go active. And when it goes active, it shows signals. And those signals in the body are messages to us saying, hey, it's time to let this process now. But we're not necessarily taught to look at signals as messages, as more as, oh, let's stop this, let's depress it, let's repress it, let's oppress it, let's go get a doctor to give us a drug so we don't feel it, and or turn it off, or so no judgment, but that wasn't doing anything for me. And so I started really working with somebody who worked with not only aromatherapy, but all these other frequency type things that would go past the olfactory system right to the limbic system, and tell the limbic system, hey, time to let go of all these assignments so the signals can dissipate and transmute and move out. And when you have that happen, what happens is, because we have a signature code in our DNA that projects, as you're changing up the DNA in the body, you're also changing the projection that's going into the field. And then the field is both radiating out and magnetizing back in. So you're getting different results just by the internal work that we do. And so I started really, moving into understanding the formula of how to kind of reverse engineer those traumas. And when I did it myself, I lost, I transmuted, whatever you want to say, 80 pounds in like 16 weeks. I got off all my meds. I know you work with a lot of people, Nori. I saw on all the different people that you work with, the before and afters. And that's kind of what happened, is I had this mass, love again, reconnected to love, who is God in me, and was able to transmute that. And since then, when I would go back to these conferences that I was teaching at, I would walk in, they didn't recognize me. Matter of fact, I was in Holland one of the first times that I was out again, and I walked in, had my suitcases, I'm like ready to go to the green room, and these people had been 10 years in a row, over and over the same conference. And the lady at the desk was like, okay, ma'am, we're gonna have to get you to sign in. And I was like, dude, it's me. Like, people didn't even recognize me, I'm sure just my physical, but also just my countenance. And I was happy, I wasn't in pain. You're different when you feel good. You want to do things, and you're a different person. So this happened over and over. And the conferences that I used to go to, they said, can you teach on this? And so I just went a little further in the health aspects and how it connects to the quantum physics and, the frequency part. Before it was quantum physics, neuroscience, that kind of thing. But now it was like, now let's make some choices and marry the two for us to be like medical intuitives and understand our own body and take responsibility in our health. And so I had so many people asking me for help. A lot of them were very medical type, things that I didn't personally know except for intuition. And so I had several dreams and some things that kind of guided me. Go back and get your doctorate, go to medical school, which is crazy at like 30 something years old. But I went back to medical school and had little babies, and I was the oldest chick there, but whatever. And never had the idea that I was going to be going to school for the sake of working in a practice, although I did for a while. I only went for the understanding of the body and to be able to answer these questions as I would travel and do more conferences and write more books to help the masses at once. I much rather enjoy teaching on one subject and have as many people learn instantly. Although I do a lot of one-on-one and I do have a practice. That wasn't really what I thought I was going to do, but it's kind of what's happening. So, but that's how I ended up, with that. And now I'm meeting cool people like you and just expanding, kicking down any kind of building doors. We have the whole world to serve and to love. And I also still got in on the animal part about 3 years ago, started fostering, which was a lot better than the veterinarian thing, because with the veterinarian thing, that lasted like 3 days of seeing trauma in animals and hit by cars and all that. I was like, okay, this isn't me, so I moved on to the people and service, but I circled back, and I've had 93 kittens now that I've bottle fed and nursed and up to 2 pounds, and then we adopt them out, and they're very high frequency, and so it's very much part of not only my sanity and my healing, but I get to serve humanity through, working with animals and loving on them. And so, yeah, and I'm just still in process.
And you'd be surprised how good animals get when they're raised with love.
Yes.
It makes a difference. Now, and right now you're speaking to the whole world. We couldn't do that 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now we have a totally different audience. We have people, I know this now, we got a guy in Hong Kong watching us just about every week, and Australia and everywhere. This couldn't have happened before, and look what's happened now, all the good information that is coming out. So you're doing a phenomenal service both to animals and people.
Yes, and they like being on TV, so.
So what would it look like to be a patient in your practice? I mean, I know each patient is different, but what do you do, an assessment? Do you feel their energy, or do you have any kind of equipment, or how does it work?
I've always been very intuitive and could sense and see the field, and sometimes even feel what's going on in the body per se. I didn't know. I actually took a remote viewing class with up in ASETI a few years back, and John was there teaching, John Blanco, and I found out I kind of suck at remote viewing, but he did this one. Well, I mean, we can all learn to do it, but I'm just saying, when they did the portion that was medical viewing or remote healing, they would have different people go up on the stage, and you were supposed to just take a minute and feel or be able to look and see what's going on in the body. And I aced everything that they did, and I don't know what that is about. Well, I do know a little bit, but some of it has to do with Montauk too. But again, was that I was picked for that because of that, or I learned that from there? That's this, is it in the genetics, or is it a little bit of both? Maybe probably both. But when I realized that, I knew that I was already doing that in my practice, but it was confirmation for the first time, like in real life scenarios, when I was literally looking at the sky going, your left knee, your right toe on your left leg, that kind of stuff. And it was like very exact. And I was like,
Wow.
couldn't even believe it myself. So, but I usually set up biofeedback. I have biofeedback scanners, and I'll look at, hormones and emotions and body chemistry and physiology, and I could see the field of what's going on in someone, just a snapshot of a few, like 30 different reports, chakras, meridians, minerals, vitamins, overall organs, and then I will go through report by report with them individually over the phone and say, this is what I would do for this. This is what I would do. Now I send frequencies back. I take everything that's like the lowest and I stick them in a tray, and we basically zap them for 30 minutes or longer, depending, to get them back to homeostasis. But as you guys know, everything hooks and anchors into the physical so much. So if I can go through, if I send all the frequencies, we start getting it going, kind of like training wheels, then I can call them and go, let's go over the report. Because, like a tuning fork, you hit it, it'll go, but then it gets tired. But if you bring in other tuning forks that are that same sound, then they amplify off of each other. And so what I like to do is, hit the tuning fork, which is the person, send the frequencies, get them going. And then I'll go back and say, now this is what I would do on a physical, on this page, this page, this page. That way they're implementing some new choices that are going to hold that sound. And then they'll be able to stay in that new sound on their own, which not only fixes the inside, but changes the field. So you're starting getting dramatic, just you're magnetizing different things in, like parasites. If people have parasites, that is victim energy. So victim energy goes into the field, and then they magnetize situations, people, whatever, whether it's bank accounts or partnership. That's all now brought in, and people take advantage, not knowing or understanding that they're just submitting to your lowest common denominator that you're putting out. And people can be like, I'm so loyal, I'm such a good friend, I'm really kind to everyone, and you could have all that karma going towards you. But if you have the frequency of being taken advantage of, whether it's parasites or mold or fungus or whatever, that is definitely an energy that's going out that will magnetize something back in past your consciousness, because that's all just going on, whether you're paying attention or thinking or knowing that it's happening. So that's just kind of one example, but we look at all of that and try to see, look, are you having this kind of pattern? Well, it could be because of this. Let's switch this up and do some hardcore anchoring into some physical things to switch up the projection. So the projector is changed and the projection is changed, and then the magnetization is changed.
Wow, that's good. That's amazing. Wow.
Well, in that one, you cover all the bases around it, though. You don't leave any loose ends when you cover all that.
Yes. And, you'd be so surprised if some people are like, I think they do it or they want to do it, but then they don't. And they just rely completely on, can you just zap me every week? And I can send a frequency every week, and they don't have to change anything. It'll take a lot longer, to have to constantly frequency that, because they can override if I send it, they can override. And free will is a major component. And you, as you guys know this, I know y'all know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of overriding, actually, what they do can help you in what you're doing, or you can totally work against it. And that is the environment. And that, of course, is epigenetics. Maybe you could speak a little bit about how the environment can actually help create the medical or the health situation that you want, maybe even more so than what you do with pills and so on yourself.
That's a great point. That's a super great point. And, I don't know what you guys were taught, but when I grew up, people like my grandmother on my mom's side, or great grandfather on my mom's side, was blind by 40. And their kids were blind. And my grandmother is 96 years old. She started going blind in her late 40s. And my mom also is legally blind, and so is her sister. And, so all that being said, me growing up in that, there was always this fear of like, oh crap, right? And the truth is, epigenetics is real. You don't have to stay with what grandma had or great grandpa in anything, whether it's eyes or organs or poverty or mindsets, or never getting a deal to go through, or never getting great partnership, or always being in an abusive situation. All of those are cellular projections that are in the DNA that go out. They're coded. It's just a genetic code, and all of it has changed. Now, I was told, too bad, it's prison. You got it. If you're in this family, that's what you got. And we hope you don't get it. and just like the cancer scares that, Angelina Jolie or whoever go and like, oh, their mom had it, so they just get everything cut off. It's like, no, we don't have to live under any cellular structure. We get to change it. Epigenetics is the changing of your DNA and shifting that, which is the projector that goes into the field and brings back what is truly possible, good or bad, whatever we're creating. And so a lot of us, like I said earlier, are not really aware of the genetic coding that's going out. Or it may show up in symptoms. And so you start getting those signals or symptoms and you're like, oh my gosh. And they'll say, oh, the doctors try to program that this isn't fixable. We'll have to do surgery or you'll just have to live with it. BS. Like, no, this is fixable. Everything is fixable.
Yeah.
You are divine. We are divine beings. We are creators. We call the shots. We author our life. We captain our ship. Everything's changeable. Everyone watching, if you have anything going on, do not listen to the impossible. I mean, listen to the possible. You're unlimited. We are vibrant, thriving creators, and we get to make every shot there is. And it has to do with mindset, what we're talking about, and mostly what we're feeling. That's the biggest magnetizer is how do you feel about a certain situation?
Yeah, that's tricky. And some people, I wonder, you were talking about the people that want you to just zap them every week. Do you think the unwillingness or the fear of doing the work, to become who you want to be, that's probably a really big roadblock, right?
I think it can be. I always went with the unwilling or just the lazy, but I think I never thought of it as fear until you just said that. But you're 100% true. It takes courage to really look at who we are. Because then we have to find out, like I was diagnosed with some pretty bad stuff a few years ago that was life-threatening in this reality, in some realities, not my reality, but in that reality. And I was told, and I was baited, and they tried to get me into coming into agreement with this is the end. But I was like, okay, you know what? The good news is I can get out of this. The bad news is I'm the one who got me here, right? Yes. But if I got me here, that means I can get me out, right? So, but that took me having to accept and realize and come to accountability that I worked way too many hours. I wasn't in balance at all. I was, eating the wrong foods and, just doing whatever to get by with the schedule that I had. And to be honest, that's just an excuse. We all have choices. I had a choice. I made bad choices and I got myself there. And then I just started making good choices from then on and reverse engineering and trying to get oxygen back in my body and do all the things that are high vibe and, have fun for no reason and be around animals and nature and all the things that are really good that can shift things up. And yeah, we all get those options. And even now in this minute, with everything that's going on the planet, more than ever, I was thinking about the word selfish on a drive went to the animal shelter today. I was sitting there about that word selfish because a friend of mine had called and said that someone in her family had said that she was selfish because she didn't want a certain toxic person to be at their family thing going on this week. And they called her selfish. Started thinking about that word because we'll say like, she's kind of sweet-ish, or she's kind of tall-ish, or, like we put that ish. Well, I'll be there about 9-ish. That means I'll sort of, around that period or whatever. So I start thinking about self-ish. Like, so is that like not really self, but kind of self, but also the connotation that the program is selfish means you're self-centered.
Yes.
But by definition, that's not what it means. It means you're self-ish. So are we self? Who are we? I don't know. These are some big questions of just being like, well, what is selfish? Is selfish seeking ye first the kingdom of God, and then all these things will be added unto you? It's when we seek the kingdom, where is that? Inside self, in the soul, in our genes, in whoever we are, whatever this character is. And as we do those things that are like maybe in the back burner of like, oh, I really need to go through the closet and clean out stuff, or I need to make that call to that girl, or you know what, I don't know why, but I'm really feeling to go to the animal shelter today. And then you get there and someone's there, and then you get to minister and love. And it was like, everything works out for me. Everything conspires to support me. When we follow those little seek ye firsts, then all these things. But when you're feeling stuck and you're not getting the answers and you're like cloudy and confused, go back to what is it that I haven't done, that those little voices that my heart has been saying to do. Make the call to grandma, write the letter, pay the bill, whatever it is. And you'll start getting that clarity back because you're getting into alignment with self-ish. What is selfish? I'm going to ask you, what's selfish to you? Selfish?
Yeah, but I think there's a good way to be selfish too, because think of it. If we don't take care of ourselves and we bog ourselves down, get all sick and all screwed up, we can't help anybody else either. So we need to be a little self-ish.
Ish.
I'm ish all the time.
Yes, I'm gonna dive a little more into that when we get off. I've been like ruminating on selfish. Okay. What do you think, Nori? What do you think selfish is?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is what I was programmed with. Oh, you are so selfish. You're always thinking of yourself. Oh, I'm bad. I'm bad. But, over the years, and thank God, I've grown to realize that whole being called selfish is more them saying, you're not being codependent enough for this family,
That's so good.
not enmeshed enough. You're busy getting healthy. Don't do that,
That is so good. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I go back to the airline, and in the unlikely event that there's a decompression, the mask will fall from the ceiling, and apply it to yourself before applying it to children. Hello. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. That's not selfish. That's so that you can be available to be of service.
You know what? I think people who are in service, whether it's a doctor, a dentist, a counselor, teachers, ministry people in service like you guys, whether it's like, mental health, physical health, consciousness. I think that a lot of times the program is like give to the sake of sacrifice, even of your own health and time and mental, and you got to answer every email and you got to pick up every phone call, no matter what time of the hour is. This person needs me, but yeah, I think I like how you said the codependent thing, because we can get so in the identity of meeting the needs that can be a pretty serious dance if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And this is, segueing, dovetailing nicely into epigenetics, because, if we're surrounded by that energy and it's really not who we are, right? What is it doing to our cells? What kind of health or lack of health is that shaping in us? So with the holidays coming, can you talk a little bit about being around people that maybe you don't want to, or people that, don't feel good to you?
Yes, boundaries are huge for staying true to one's self-ish. I had an encounter in 2010. These two, I don't know, 14, 16 foot beings came into my living room, and they had all these books everywhere. They had they had me looking into the recordings of these records that they had line per line. And I could feel that. I could feel them. I feel them now every time I talk about them. And when it got to the part where I knew they were leaving, everything was, telepathic. There were no words spoken. Everything was very like in the mind. And the person that I call True, one of these beings, I just called him that because it felt true. I felt it tangibly in my body, in every cell of my being. Truth, like ignited, activated on a level. I mean, I've always thought that I walked in alignment and truth, but this brought it to a whole thing. But when she looked at me right before she left, and when she did, she said, "Tell them they're not truly living unless they're living true."
Wow.
And I knew that meant so many levels of things, of just not like, hey, is it okay that, did these jeans make my butt look big? It was more like true, as in, who is your partner? Where do you live? What house, even specifically? What position, job do you have, and where, and what type of purpose and vocation? Who are you with your kids? Who are you in your every role that you have? And the truest, what are you going to do Friday night at 7? True. Are you going to be on time when you say, I'll be there at 7? I mean, every bit of truth of all the essence of who we are, living true. And part of truth for me is listening to those things within, as far as those boundaries. To me, boundaries is being in alignment with your truth. And your truth may not be mine. Like you may not be able to get a tattoo and I can get 49, or you can eat vegan and I can't, or you can drink and I can't. Like everyone needs to listen to what their signposts are and follow those, and not be judgmental, like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that, or even jealous of how come you get to do that and I can't. Like there's so much like dynamics in that. And when we can just like clear all that and not care, but just be like honest and true with every choice we make, with the thoughts that we think, with the words that we say, with every intention, the tension within our, what we do, what we're thinking. So part of, even going to a certain event where family members may be a certain way or not, or letting them come over to your space and your house and your event or your family thing, those can be some new choices. I was going to say tough or challenging, but that's a program too. You can say, well, this is fun and easy, or you can be like, this sucks, I don't want to do it. It's all about what you decide and where you put your intention. And so, if you make it fun and easy and be like, you know what, we're going to have a really cool Christmas, and the people that I would like to be there to celebrate are going to be people that are really cool and celebrating. So this time you're not going to be there, but we can do something later, or maybe we never will. But making those choices to keep a safe, secure place, and just having the awareness and the ability to say no, and realize it's okay to say no. No is a great, way to live, and just saying yes or no, and not having the tension inside, not feeling the guilt about it, but just being like sovereign.
We need to learn how to say no sometimes, because some of the people that is around us that has bad vibration, and we feel it when we are around them. They do something to our genetics. I discovered in epigenetics, you can actually turn on the good markers in the genetics, or turn off the bad one by the way you think, or the environment you allow yourself to be in, or what you allow to dwell in your mind the most. So these people that are around us, they keep throwing all this negativity at us, and they may be talking about disease or things like that. And if we don't say anything or shut that out, we kind of accept it, don't we? So this is dangerous.
I agree. And this lady that I talked to today, it was funny, and I'm not going to say who it is, but hers was her mom. And she made a point to say, well, I was the good girl and I took my mom to go do these things. And she was negative the whole time. And she said that I was fat and, blah, blah, blah. And she talked about my kids negatively and blah, 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 blah. And now, if I don't call her every day, I have to call her. And so I just stopped and I'm like, who said that you're only the good girl if you do things with a grouchy, mean mom? Like, who made that up?
Yeah.
Like, why did you make that up? And also, you don't have to call her. Guess what? That's your choice. That is in your mind. So I had her go back and look to see where did that belief come from? That she was a good girl only if she hung out her mean mom who was abusive and terrible to her whole growing up, and all of her kids and everyone had like rejected her except for this one daughter. And she said, well, normally I just let it go away. I don't say anything. I'm going to be going to California and she's going to be far away and I don't have to deal with it. I'm like, or you could deal with it and just make a new choice and make it be fun and easy. Oh, but that would be hard. No, it's fun and easy because this is your life. This is our life.
Yeah.
We get to make it. And
Yep.
maybe sometimes there's consequences to people who don't want to be nice, and maybe they'll change their ways, or maybe they'll never change their ways. But we can only control us.
Yep.
So if you would like to have a sacred Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, whatever the situation, then that is your choice and your choice alone to make that happen. It's up to us.
Yeah, we are responsible for the way that our life turn out. So we shouldn't really listen to everybody because not all of them have our best interest at heart. It's kind of like in business, you want everybody to be successful, almost as successful as you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's a joke, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and too, with business or partnership or anything, you guys
Same
know
thing.
that this is tangible in the field. So if I don't know you guys personally, I could interview your best 5 friends and I could pretty much figure out who you are. So if you're feeling stuck, sometimes it's like, well, who are you hanging out with? Because all of that's tangible. Just like, in the Bible, they talk about Peter's shadow. That's the field. That's the aura. That's the biofield, the electronic belt, so we have that too. And when we remember and we turn all those good things on, and we get everything going in the right direction, then we should be walking around and people are just like, wow, and they feel good just because they were around us, and we can change their field. It's transferable. Override.
Love that.
I think too that when we live in a mind-created universe, what we have been talking about right now is all about the mind. So I think people should go back and listen to it the second time because we didn't catch everything the first time. And there are so many simple tricks we can do to keep our immune system up. And boy, do I want you to talk about that. I remember reading that back in 1931, there was a guy, a doctor, he got the Nobel Prize for discovering something that is so obvious. He said, no bacteria or virus can live in a heavy oxygenated and alkaline environment. So decades ago, my martial art master told me, if you do this one thing, you will never be sick in your life. And I haven't done it every day, but pretty close. And I've never been sick. And he said, sit down and take 20 deep breaths until you're dizzy. Sit there, be dizzy for 3 to 5 minutes. You flood the blood with oxygen. That gets everywhere in your body. It snuggles up to virus and kills it. And it works. And guess what? It's free. And there's other things like.
I just bought a book last night called The Science of Breathing or Breath.
Yeah.
So interesting. I didn't know that, what you just said. That's so 20 breaths a day, like in 15 minutes, not a day. Hopefully not 20 breaths a day. That would be a terrible day.
That is taught in some of the martial arts.
Really? 20 breaths
Yeah.
in 15 minutes. In 15 minutes?
No, 3 to 5 minutes is good enough. You do that once a day, you'll never be sick, is what he told.
Okay, I gotta
You
write that down.
hyperventilate, right? Augie, you have to hyperventilate.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
Breathe
exactly.
into. Yeah.
And then again, what you talked about, Nori, is the structured yogic breathing, which is probably better because then you involve the mind more and you do other things. But it's the oxygen that is important,
Yeah. It's always
or
the
actually prana also,
right.
that is attached to the oxygen and subatomic particle of the O2.
Well, and that's why like hyperbaric chamber or, even drinking water, which has oxygen, frequency, oxygen, all this kills free radicals.
Yep.
So that would make sense that breathing would automatically kill free radicals.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got a note.
What do you do to keep your resistance to illness up all the time?
Oh my gosh. I eat a juice every week, every day. I do this is about this is 16 ounces. This doesn't have my juice in it, but I do 3 of these of green juice, no fruits, just green juice every day. I get out in nature as much as possible. I love getting by the fire, by the river, making sure my feet are touching the ground. Definitely do lots of supplements, lots of frequency and oils like peppermint's 98 megahertz, lavender's 118, rose is 320 megahertz. We're 67 megahertz on a healthy day. And so the more you drop, whether you're around Debbie Downer or walk and drink some Starbucks or, listen to some bad music or watch some news or even see a painting or an image that can drop you. Food drops you, but also food can bring you up. Music can bring you up. Images can bring you up. Meditation, yoga, so many different things. Frequency, animals, machines. I scan myself. Yeah. I do sauna, infrared. I take walks, work out. I have a hyperbaric chamber. I do IVs sometimes. There's a lot of things that I do, and I'm sure there's millions of things. I'd love to hear what you guys do too, but that's kind of some of the things.
Wow. Wow.
What do you think about alkalizing the body up to about, let's say, pH 9 for a while to kill off? I mentioned the oxygen, but the other part of that was alkalizing the body. So that's going to be kind of important, wouldn't it?
It is. And you can actually go too much too, because some of these machines are too much. And so you have to be careful to make sure if you do get one of those machines that'll adjust the water, that you want to keep it adjustable so it's not lack or too much. But yeah, when you're grounded, that helps with acidity too. I mean, there's so many things that we can do. Animals are very earthing, being outside is very earthing, but yeah, the right kind of water and acidity, being alkaline is huge, for sure.
What is too much?
Over 9, anything over 9 could be a little bit, especially over a long time. Now, if you're really low and you want to come up, anything in the 7.7, 8.2, like a lot of the waters, like Fiji is one of the best actually, to get and there's several companies that are really good and there's several that are really crappy. There's a whole documentary on that as far as alkalinity. But actually Norway has really good water, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yes. So what do you guys do to keep up your vibe?
Keep me healthy? I do the Tibetan rites.
Okay.
Yeah, you may be familiar with that. It's a Tibetan exercise program that it doesn't do a lot for building muscle, but it I never have backaches or anything because then I take supplements and things too, and I also take Dr. Wallach's stuff, and I take this.
Yay. Awesome. That tests really well, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. And I think that the supplements that we take, we feel it. Even though we may think, oh yeah, everybody tells me to take this, and then you take it. If you can dose it, you can find out if it's good for you, or if you need too much or too little. Or
Important.
dowsing is an excellent one. I do that once in a while. I don't do it a lot, and I'm probably not very good at it. But that's maybe I'm taking too many supplements, possibly. But
Well,
I'm
we
never
don't.
sick, so I shouldn't complain.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to either muscle test or douse, because I just tested almost 40 supplement companies. A lot of them have been bought out. Nestle bought out a ton of them. Nestle, the chocolate. Even Jordan's Garden of Life, what's his last name? Jordan Rubin, who was a fanatic for health. He had sold his over, and now there's AI and all this stuff. There's glyphosate oxide and all this stuff. And also what was another company? Tom's, even, like, that used to be really healthy for toothpaste and things. That's been sold out. Pure has been sold out. Like, some of the really good, even kind of what doctors use for supplementing, and natural doctors use as supplements. You got to be careful now. And yeah, I would muscle test everything, because even if it's a great product, what's good for Nori may not be good for me. So, but I'm curious, what do you do, Nori?
I move and breathe. That's like my default. I believe I had the virus the February before the word was ever spoken, and um, I got up. I had 103 fever for like 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
And I got up every morning and I taught a part of an exercise class every morning. I forced myself to breathe because I just kept believing what Augie was saying, that if I get the oxygen, way down into the alveoli, that I'm going to be okay. So that's my default. I love oil. I love oils. I take a bath with oils. Augie sends me a bunch of supplements that I take. I love ASEA. I'm a true ASEA fan, but I take all of the things that are important right now: the D3, the zinc, vitamin C. I take a 2 a day vitamin. Um, but mostly, I really try to work on the energy of my thoughts. As soon as I realize that my body is signaling to me that I'm getting tense, then I try to reverse engineer and go, okay, so what am I thinking about? What am I really thinking about right now? And then just trying to raise my vibration. If I had a cat, that's the best energy. That's the best vibration lift ever. Just go pet your cat. Take a nap. Think about somebody you love. Think about something that you love, or go distract yourself. I love walking in nature. Love, love, love it. Right now I'm in West Virginia and they have the healing waters here. So I'm just beginning to discover that. I mean, literally, the water comes down from the mountain and people fill their big, huge jugs up and take it home. And it's filled with minerals. It's like perfect. So, yeah, yeah. So I'm playing here and that's amazing. Yeah, and
Awesome.
music, vibration, frequency music. Yeah.
Minerals and trace minerals are extremely important. Remember, I reading about there was an expedition that went to South America, to the shores of Lake Titicaca down there, and they found a tribe that has actually hardly ever had any contact with the outside people. The average age of the people there, they found, was somewhere around 130 years old, because they drank the glacier milk that came out from underneath the ice, and that's full of minerals.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
We
the quote junk DNA that we supposedly have can be turned on by minerals, and is turned
Yeah.
on by minerals.
I didn't know that. We only have about 5 minutes left. Dr. Charnell, tell people about your books. Tell them where they can find them and how they can contact you. And do you have any classes coming up?
Oh gosh, I have several classes. I have one on muscle testing. I have a class on I Am My Divine Partner. I have a class on outcome mapping. I have like a keto group where we go and learn all about getting into ketosis and tricking your body. Gosh, anyway, but yeah, there's several. If you go to swiftfire.org, you can find those and more. Swift as in quickfire.org. And then also my books are there. This is my newest one, The Science of Miracles, that Augie talks about earlier. It just came out on audio, actually. And if you go to my Facebook or swiftfire.org, you can even get it, the audio version, which I wasn't ever planning on doing. Everyone kept asking. And it wasn't until I went up to Montana here last year and saw my grandmother listening to audiobooks because of her sight. And I was like, wow, this is what I have to do. I knew I had to do it for her. So her and my mom now have the audio, and all of my family members that don't read can hear it. But also have my crystals deck, which is 80 cards, and it teaches about frequency and how the frequency of like crystals work with essential oils and decrees. And so there's several cards. We've had so many people with testimonies. I'll have to send you guys a book and a card deck after I'll get your address. But we've had people who, they'll pick it visually or just feel it, and they'll sleep on it, or they'll stick it underneath like whatever they're drinking overnight and then drink their water. It changes the structure of the water. We've been having people stick them in their kids' backpacks or lunch boxes and help them have different days. It's been really cool, the testimonies we've been getting with this. And it does have like a decree, and then it's got the 4 companion essential oils, and then it has the crystal that works best with that. So it's something to have fun with over the holidays. Good Christmas presents.
Yeah, show us the front page of that book again, so we can see what it looks like.
This is our Merkaba, yes, and these are my favorite colors. But yeah, this is all about remembering the frequency of love, the science of miracles. This is our inheritance. This is what we can do. The formula's in here. I got directly from those 2 beings. This book came in 12 hours after that meeting, and if some things just happened, it's totally God. So I don't take credit, but I do take credit in the willpower of writing it out, getting it out there. Yes.
Yeah, because you're the one that did it.
Yes. I was going to catch myself when people do that, like, oh, it's just God. And it's like, it's us.
Mention your other books also.
Yes, I have Keys to Third Heaven. I have a Louisiana Girl, and I have a Spiritual Reflections of a Montana Girl in a Louisiana State, which talks about signs and wonders. I have the Seer's Handbook. I have a keto book that goes into 31 days of reprogramming our body to do what it's supposed to do, to burn fat and to move things out. Some people don't do this forever, but it's a good thing to do for a little while. But yeah, swiftfire.org, and you can find me on YouTube, all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But yeah, I hope I can meet with some of y'all out there and we can connect. And one of the things I do miss about not having conferences, I used to like book sign and hug people and be able to see them physically. So if you're watching and something, spoke to you or you got out of it, I love whenever you comment, and I'll send prayers to you. And I like to connect on that level. At least I can go on Facebook and look at the picture and, visualize radiance and love and healing to you. And doing that with all y'all right now. I'm just sending out a mass amount of frequency, love, energy to every one of you watching, and your families, your 4-legged people and your 4-legged creatures. And I'm just humbly aware of your presence, and so blessed to be able to meet with you and interface with you guys in this minute.
Yeah, amazing.
Sounds good.
Really good.
This was wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Augie, you want to take us out? I don't want this to end, but
no, do it again. I'll
Yes.
have you. I'm gonna have you guys on the 30th. I think it's the 30th, but I'll look forward
Yeah,
to
I
that.
think so. Yeah, that'll be it. Oh, that'll be fun. We'll find something to talk about.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then until next week, we will be back with another great guest on a great show. And until then, be good to each other.
Bye, guys.